headphones, because you're talking about your
Yes,
kids.
yes.
Okay. These were called ear tubes or listening tubes. Okay. These were on the machines you would find in the penny arcades.
Okay.
Okay. So you would put in the ear tubes and put in a penny and then crank the machine 8 times and you got to hear your 2 minutes of music.
Oh,
But for the
gosh.
kids' sake, these are the early headphones.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, all right. So, this one plays a 2-minute cylinder record, and as you can tell, it's quite loud. Every record was recorded at whatever volume it was played at, so some are quite loud, some are quite soft. But if it's too loud, you put a sock in it, and that's how you control your volume. It has a lid that you can put on it and take it with you. And if you're so inclined, you can also record on this, which was unique compared to other phonographs. You could buy a wax recording disc like this, and you could record your own 2 minutes of sound, whether it be talking or if you wanted to play music or whatever, you would just stand in front of the horn and you could record your own. So they sold literally millions of these for that very reason, because it was so popular and such a good model. And if you couldn't afford the $20, Edison was concerned about that too. So you could also buy smaller models called the Gem, and those sold for about $7.50 to $10.
Oh, wow.
So he was good about that. But Edison loved the phonograph so much, and he was so enthusiastic with it, he continued to work on it until 1929, and over that time frame he had 199 different patents relating to the phonograph and recorded sound. So he did a lot with it, and every phonograph that you see here, it's kind of a progression of improvements. This one is a 1916, and you can see by now he's put the horn down inside, and also if you crank this one, it will play 3 records before you have to crank it again. Okay, so another improvement there. This also has very good sound. This has a diamond stylus, and I'll play you just a little bit of this so you can hear the quality of this.
Good.
And this record is an Edison invention called blue amberol, which is an early plastic similar to a celluloid. So, you know, he was constantly looking for ways to improve his favorite invention. But by 1912, he had discovered that there was more competition out in the marketplace, and flat discs were starting to come in. He was starting to get competition from RCA Victor and Columbia Records. So the flat disc had 2 very prominent advantages to it. One, it's got 2 sides, so twice as much music. And number 2, it's easier to store than a cylinder record. So even though Edison felt that he had better quality with his cylinder records, he had to go to a flat record. So he had to improve and find ways to make those such that they would meet his standards, which were always high. And so he came up with that flat record, which is quite heavy. I'd hand it to you, but you don't want to lift it while you're doing that. Yeah. But quite heavy. It's made out of a material called bakelite, which was a popular early plastic. And he would play them, if you want to come on down here, on a diamond disc player, which he designed. These are, again, improvements. All diamond stylus on these. Still crank, which if you don't crank this one, it won't work. But again, this has very good sound quality to it, and now we have volume control. If you look inside now, you'll see the little black ball. That's my volume control. So I have a lever, and if I move it, you'll see
Oh,
it all moves out. So it's kind of an automated sock, so to speak.
yeah.
But it does work. And it was one of the higher tech ways of controlling volume compared to what some of the other companies had. But Edison was so big on sound quality that one of the ways he would test quality on his records, he would rent out an auditorium, and he would put behind the curtain on the stage, he would put the artist and have them sing their songs, and then he would play a recording of it, and then he would ask the audience which was real and which was recorded.
Oh my goodness.
And that was one of his ways of checking out sound, because he was really big on the quality. He wasn't just about recording it, he wanted it to sound as good as it could. And I don't know whether any of that had to do with him being hard of hearing or just his nature, but that was one of his ways of controlling it. So, but he continued to make phonographs until 1929, and at that point in time he stopped making them. The company went out, a combination of the Depression, and by then he was 82 and less interested and more into the rubber research at that point in time. So he had, a variety of reasons for stopping the production. So after 1929, no more Edisons.
Mm.
But he did make radios for a couple of years. There's one over here in the corner. That was kind of at the insistence of his sons. Charles and Theodore felt that he should get into the radio business, but can't be right about everything, and Edison thought that radio was a fad. So,
Oh, really?
Yep. So he didn't really go big into the radio business.
Okay.
So, but his sons did convince him to make some, so we do have a few of those around. But you'll notice in this cabinet, there's all kinds of business phonographs, which later became dictation devices. And that was one of Edison's earliest uses for the phonograph, was for business purposes. He came from a business world, having been a telegraph operator and working for the stock exchange, and so he really thought of it right away for business purposes. And then once somebody suggested it for music, that opened up a whole new world.